Israeli lawmakers approving a key part of a divisive judicial overhaul plan despite mass protests. Part of the plan, pushed by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, removes the court system's ability to strike down, quote, unreasonable decisions by the government. Critics say it jeopardizes democracy. Lawmakers opposed to the bill chanted shame and stormed out of the chamber before the vote, resulting in the bill passing with a 64-0 unanimous approval. Thousands have marched from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem protesting this plan. And Tom Burridge joins me now from Jerusalem with more. Tom, what's the reaction there now that this bill has passed?
Well, Diane, I think most people here are angry. You can see the crowds behind us. The Israeli parliament, the Knesset, is just up the road there. Israeli protesters cannot get actually to the parliament. They spill down the streets. I think we're mainly seeing anger, despair. But I think a lot of people we're speaking to are saying the fight goes on. That's what the chants are often saying, that the protests will not end, that people are not suddenly going to go home. They'll keep fighting because, remember, the Israeli government, this is a critical reform they've done to the judiciary, a controversial one, but they are promising even wider reforms to the judiciary beyond today as well.
Tom, how wide-reaching is the impact of this vote?
It is wide-reaching. I mean, look, this bill effectively gets rid of a check and balance for the government of the day. So it means that the Supreme Court cannot strike down a controversial decision by any government of the day. And for the protesters here, there's the sort of fundamental point about Israeli democracy. They, and I think Israel more broadly, and its allies would have said over the decades, look, Israel is a beacon of democracy in a largely, pretty much solely in places autocratic Middle East. And for the protesters here, what this reform means is that that model of democracy is compromised. They say you now have to question Israel's sort of real, foundation and the sort of some of the really important democratic principles which have been in place over the decades. But the government quite firmly says, look, we're a democratically elected government. These are unelected judges, and in the government's mind, those unelected judges have too much or excessive power. Diane?
And Tom, this is a democratically elected government passing legislation through Parliament. So why so much protest and questions about this impact on democracy?
I think it goes back to that model of democracy. And I think there is also the sort of question mark for the what next. I mean, the labour unions here are threatening strikes, so that's one possibility. I don't think the protests are suddenly going to end. They could over time run out of steam, but from talking to people here, the mood, the atmosphere, people are not just suddenly going to go home. They're going to keep fighting the government on these reforms. Remember, this is the most right-wing government in Israel's history. But one critical point is, what will the reaction of army reservists be? We know that thousands of army reservists in Israel have threatened to stop serving if this controversial bill today is passed. It's now been passed. Will they do that? They've been backed over the weekend in a letter by former senior security chiefs, Israeli security chiefs. If they do that, what will the impact be on Israeli security? And of course, you look at the broader picture here, Israeli security, the fight for its security has been, one of the, if not the key principle that has held this nation together, made it, glued it together. And that is the fear that, if you've got army reservists saying they won't fight, what is the knock-on impact? Now, the government says that's blowing it out of proportion. There's too much hype about the impact of this, and this is a necessary reform. Interestingly, the opposition also wants a reform of the judiciary, but they say it shouldn't be done like this and it shouldn't be rushed through. Diane?
All right, Tom Burridge in Jerusalem. Tom, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.